Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having the best day you could possibly have. And we're gonna make you feel even better because today we're jumping into some Choosing Beggar stories. Before we start, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. But you need to stay because I deserve it. Our first story today comes to us from Extra Sneaky Turtle. I got myself to your house. Why should I pay you gas money? Let's jump right in. I don't really hang out with this acquaintance anymore. We'll call him Pat. I met Pat through a friend in college. I didn't know what to think about him at first, but he seemed like a gentle enough soul. I couldn't see him hurting a fly. One day he calls me up and asks if I want to hang out with a group of his friends at his place on the weekend. I know a few of his friends and agreed. He asked if I could get a ride to his home since I'm 15 to 20 minutes away. He's visited my house before and knows where I live. I don't have a car, so I set up a ride with my father. He worked close to Pat's place, so it wasn't a huge deal. I waited at my dad's work from 7 a.m., opening of the store, until the time that Pat said I should arrive at 9 a.m. I arrive and it's just me and him. He explains that we have to pick everyone up. I'm thinking they all live nearby, so it won't take long, especially since he was so against picking me up at my house. I also didn't know the amount of people and thought it was maybe 2, 3 at most. We drive well over 45 minutes to get the first person. We even pass my street on the way to there, to which I mumble, WTF, as I saw my house flash by. I sat in the passenger seat until one of his friends bangs on my door. Pat says, "She always rides shotgun, can you get in the back seat?" I don't argue and sit in the back. We're only going to pick up 1, maybe 2 more people, right? Nope. I am slowly squished as we fit 3 more people in that weren't exactly tiny. Not to mention some people in that car didn't use enough deodorant, if they did use any. It took about 3 hours to pick everyone up, and towards the end, we never went back to his house. We ended up chilling at the last friend's place as she doesn't want to leave her house or squish in with the 4 of us in the back of his tiny car. Understandable. We start to do the long drive to get everyone back home a few hours later. I knew the path we were going to take first, the one that goes close to my house. The second we are by my street, I ask him to pull over. He's confused until I explain that my house is down the street. This way, I don't have to ride around for another 2 to 3 hours, and my dad doesn't have to pick me up from his place. Thanks for the ride. It was sort of fun. Have a good day. As I'm leaving, he gets out of the car and asks me to wait. He takes his time and fidgets a bit until he finally asks me for gas money. I did drive you around the city and in the country. It's only fair, right? I spent all my money helping to pay for the pizza and soda for the group, of which I had 1 slice and water. He says I can pay him later, but I explain how I don't have a job and don't have money. He turns around and leaves without further debate. I hung out with that friend group a few times, but I didn't jump into a car with him again, especially since I felt like I used 0.01% of the gas that day to simply pull over. He definitely is a very timid person. I found that he uses his timid nature to wiggle extra favors, items, and money out of people, including gaming desktops built from scratch. Now, OP added an edit at the bottom of this one. It says, "Edit, have some repeating questions in the comments. Why didn't I have a job, or why didn't others have cars or jobs?" This was around 2010, and we were mostly teens. Pat was the oldest, lived on his own, and owned his own car. I can't speak for the other people since it's been a while, but my parents agreed that I could live at home and didn't need to get a job if I went to college full time. I didn't have a job, which means I couldn't buy a car. I only got a car later when my mom bought herself a new car. I got her old one. That 2004 car lasted 2 years until the transmission died, but I had a job long enough to save up for another car. Why not use Uber? I didn't have much money, and since Uber was created in 2009, it wasn't a huge thing just yet. Plus, a lot of us were still using cheap flip phones. Was this an illicit substances trip? No. This was more Pat not planning out how to get everyone together at his place to hang out. I'm not even sure if he told half of them that he was going to pick them up. If it had anything to do with illegal activities, I wouldn't know since I came for video games and pizza. This is vague and doesn't make sense. honestly was on board with that line of thought because I was not expecting a drive anywhere. I did my job of getting to his house as was asked. I thought the other friends would do the same. I have not had an experience like this again. Stop being friends with him. I do still have him on social media, but more to watch the dumpster fire from afar. I'm not jumping back into that. Get a job or a car. I have both now, thanks. Why did your dad drive you guys around? Sorry if there was a bit of confusion. My dad worked close to Pat, so I got a ride to my dad's work and I walked to Pat's. Then Pat drove us on this adventure to pick up his friends. One last edit. Why didn't people use buses or public transport? Most of the friends picked up lived in the country, while him, me, and the last friend lived in the city. The last friend was close to his house, which is why we took a very similar path back and why I knew we'd go by my street again. Jumping down to the comment section from this one, there's a user called Comfortable Zebra who said, bringing a passenger while he picks up friends does not make you owe anything. What a cheap butt. Not a very good friend either. OP responded to this comment and said, it's tough to think of him as a friend anymore. It got worse. My brother bought me a video game before leaving to live states away, so the game had sentimental value. Pat borrowed it by sneaking it in with 2 other 360 games I didn't care for. Wouldn't return it unless I helped him move to another city a few hours away. Literally sat in his car a street over until I agreed to help. As soon as I had the game in my hand, I closed the door, saying my license was expired. OP, you described this acquaintance as somebody who was very timid. To me, they sound like a master manipulator. I think in both situations, the story and the comment, that they knew exactly what they were doing the whole darn time. I'd be glad that they're not really a part of your life anymore because this person was an opportunistic extortionist. Our next story today comes to us from Humble Organization 71. Years ago, giving rides to ChoosingBeggars. Let's jump right in. This happened many years ago, but it still makes me laugh so very hard. I was hired to go back to a city I used to live in to help work on a show for a friend. It was a lightly paid gig, and I liked this friend and the group that was working on it, so I said, hey, why not? I lived a few hours away from the city and I had to drive myself. My friend asked if I could pick up a couple people on my way through another city. Totally fine. I texted the 2 people that I was on the way and I would be there at X time and to meet me where we arranged. I want to preface this by saying I smoked at the time, I know, and I did smoke in my own vehicle. So I get a call from person A telling me they were so confused and thought we were driving down tomorrow. He was the MC for this event. I said no, it's always been today, and I have to be there a day early to figure out all I needed to do to make the show run smoothly. He then told me he needed some time to process this and that he would call me back. I informed him that's fine, but I will still be leaving his city on time, so take that into consideration. Mind you, there is a bus that can go between cities, so he could also catch the bus. Longer ride, but can leave the day and time he wants to. I get to the meeting spot and he's there with person B. Cool. He gets in and is very standoffish. Whatever, we are ready to get going and person B hands me some cash for gas money. I thank him profusely and that's that. Person A is still quiet. I turn on some music as we get going, but person A doesn't like it, so requests we turn it off or we can all take turns playing music for the 2-hour drive. And I agree because honestly, who cares? It's not for that long. Then I ask if they are okay if I have a smoke on the way. Neither of them say anything, so I light up but I get glared at. So to keep the peace, I don't do it again. I drop them both off where they are staying and go to my friend's house where I will be sleeping. I get a text from person A about how embarrassed he is as he thought I was giving out free rides, so I should have made it clear I wanted gas money well before. He also didn't appreciate me smoking in my own vehicle, even though he said nothing at the time. Please note, this man is a few years older than me and graduated college long before I did and had been working longer than me. He proceeded to tell me that he is very broke, and I could have confirmed that with him prior to the ride. I am also broke at this point. I didn't even offer this ride. My friend asked me to help out and I said okay, cause it wasn't a big deal. And I never asked for gas money because it never occurred to me as I had to go through there anyways. I had no words. I showed my friend who dealt with this guy himself, and I never saw him again. I definitely didn't give him a ride back. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Clownfish Soup. Ew. Yeah, we all know a guy like that, quietly suffering during the events and then loudly complaining after, even though they did nothing to help themselves at the time. This was responded to by another user called Push Bright. They said, "This is the most infuriating thing in the world to me, because honestly, if it's bothering you, but you don't mention it, is it really bothering you all that much? I feel like people like this just like causing problems. They know if they don't say anything and wait till later, they can spin it how they want when they tell others about it." I can kinda see this one from both sides. I see it from the point of OP, where the person didn't say anything and they really came down on them afterwards, and that was just a kinda crappy thing to do. But I can also see it from the point of view of the person riding in the car. Now, not on the point of the money, because I think they handled that poorly, but on the point of the other person smoking in the car. Were they supposed to speak up right then? What if they have anxiety? Personally, if that happened to me, I might not be able to say anything to the person, especially if it's somebody I don't really know, because, well, I'm just not good at confrontation. This person's giving me a ride. I kinda owe them staying quiet. Now, I know a lot of you out there aren't going to agree with me on this one, but I do have a severe anxiety when it comes to social situations that aren't normal for me. And what I've just described is exactly how my brain works, but I'd love to know what you all think. Let's hit that comment section down below. Our next story today comes to us from The Han. I hope I have that right. My parents-in-law went nuclear for not offering my brother-in-law high salary. Let's jump right in. I posted this initially in a different subreddit. Sorry if you read it twice, but I think this is the more appropriate place. Thanks. I have a brother-in-law, and let's call him conveniently Bill. He is 26 years, 2 times university dropout, and never worked. Even no summer job. But okay lad as a person, just a little bit Kevin. I work in a large company and I have ability to create positions, hire and fire within my department. One day my parents-in-law asked me if I could find some work for Billy. Despite we did not need anybody in my department for additional unskilled labor, I went for 3 weeks through hoops and corporate gymnastics to create a position for him and justify it to my superiors why we need this position and why not create a public job offer for it. I think I blew all my favors and definitely owe some now. The day finally came when I received a contract for him from HR. He was supposed to be back office administrator, or in a human language, a clerk. The salary was set a tiny bit under national median for this position, but I simply could not justify more. This weekend, I brought the contract to Billy, who lives with his parents, and present him the contract, and here we go. For perspective, $1,300 net here is average living cost for a single person outside of city centers. And here is your salary, the bottom line, which shows what will appear on your bank account after tax and social security. €1,300 is not much, is it? It is entry position, and your job really is just pulling from an archive or archiving with occasional data entry. But see here, I pointed at benefits. Each year you are eligible for certain salary increases. I thought I will become your partner or something like that. Well, you're gonna be something like my assistant. When I need something, I will tell back office manager and she might assign it to you. His father joined in. What? You're making my son your errand boy? And for such pittance? This is humiliating. Frankly, he does not have... He interrupted me. Everybody knows that you managers are sitting there all day doing nothing. So why my son cannot? Listen, I cannot make him a project manager in an engineering company. If it is about money, I can put a word for him into assembly hall. They always want people and salary is way higher. But it is really hard work. Grease monkey? Like some Eastern European immigrant? That's actually also quite a bit qualified worker position. I meant like assembly worker on belts, hard job, but as I said, better salary, including paid overtime with more vacation than I have, and actually pretty decent chance of promotion. Haha, why don't you put him in coal mine right away then? Or better, make him... We are done here. Billy, if you do not come tomorrow at 7 a.m. to my office, I will put this offer to the Ministry of Labor for active job seekers, and good luck with your CV. And this married my daughter? I slammed the door. Topics he called afterwards with my wife. Your husband thinks so little of us that he wanted your brother to be his lackey for $1,000 a month. Now I'm happy you do not have kids yet. He would probably put them on farm field. Conclusion, he came today at 7 a.m. to my office to see those assembly belts despite wishes of his father, but with encouragement from his sister, my wife. Glad I could vent my frustration and anger with you here, dear Redditors, and at the same time, amuse you. May your poop scrolling at work be fruitful. Hey OP, why didn't you ask your father-in-law why he hasn't given his own son a nice high-paying job where he works? I'm guessing it's because he knows his son is a total butthole because, well, he was raised by one, and he doesn't want to ruin his own reputation at work when his son screws up completely. And that's if he even shows up. Our last story today comes to us from Visual Suggestion 487. Karen wanted me to call my coworker on his day off to make her order. Let's jump right in. Alright, this happened a few years ago. I used to work for a coffee shop. Keep in mind that we were required to move through drinks quickly. This will be important later. I was on the coffee bar that day. Who do I see walk in? Our most annoying Karen yet. She is so specific with her order, to the point of staring at the baristas while making her drink, which by far is one of the most irritating things that baristas hate when customers do. Anyways, this Karen knows this one barista who was a buddy of mine that does her drink right. We all do it the same. So she asks for a caramel macchiato and goes into so much detail as usual. However, my buddy is on his day off, and since I was the one on the coffee bar, guess what? I had to deal with her this time. Whatever. I started making her drink, and every part of the process felt like it took 1,000 hours because she kept stopping me. Oh, can you just dump a half pump of vanilla out? Oh, no, too much milk. Take a 1/4 teaspoon out. Can you tilt your body this way so I can see how you're making the drink? Yes, she asked that. And there she said it, the most entitled sentence so far. You know, can you call the other barista that usually makes my drink to come in and just make it? I can't believe what I just listened to be honest. And at first, I think she is joking. There's no way she is actually serious, right? Right? No, she was serious. Ma'am, I just finished your drink. Here you go. He knows how to do it right. Just see if he wants to come in. Respectfully, ma'am, I'm not gonna do that. It's his day off. She storms out like I cursed her out or something. I also just think to myself, you don't have anything to do other than to wait here until he comes and makes your drink? Like, really? I ended up telling my coworker about it, and he and I had a laugh. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user here that made me laugh out loud. It's from a user called Otherwise Topic 1791. It says, you could have played her all day. He'll be here shortly. 10 minutes later. He said he's on the way. If you'll just be patient, I'm sure he'll be here soon, etc, 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 just to see how long she'll stay. This to me sounds like a social experiment that I could really get behind. I mean, it sounds like it could be a lot of fun. However, that means that Karen's gonna be in your store for a good portion of the day. Well, depending on how long they stick around anyway. Is that something you really want to deal with? I mean, is the payoff for that going to be worth dealing with her for that period of time? I don't know. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.